Hi everybody, and welcome to the Ciao Enchanted Land mini album tutorial series designed for Scrap and Create. All of the products that I am using here that are from the Scrap and Create website are listed in the description box below, so you can just click on those links and follow along in the tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to begin working on page 3. So the first thing I did was mark on the front of my first flap in the center, and then down here in this section where the belly band is, or the end of the flap is, I have another mark here, and I've cut 2 lengths of ribbon to 8 inches long. Now, if you like your bows to be a little bit bigger or longer, you want to cut your ribbon to be a little bit longer, but I do like mine to be a little bit shorter, so I use about 8 inches. I'm going to take my ribbon end and place the first one here, hanging down off of the edge of the flap. And then the second one I'm going to have here, hanging down, making sure that they do, actually this needs to go over here because it was not centered on the page. So just make sure that when you mark your top flap, you put your ribbon in the center because it needs to be centered this way. There's a lot of room. From my 12 by 12 paper, I've cut a strip that is 4 1/4 inches wide, and then I cut it into a 6 1/4 and a 5 3/4 inch piece. And I've got another one, same thing, 4 1/4 inches, 6 1/4, 5 3/4. We're going to put the 5 3/4 inch pieces aside for now, and we're going to use the longer pieces. I'm going to place one piece here in the center of this flap, then I'm going to open up and place the second one here on the center of this flap. Next, I'm going to add some decoration to the front of this flap. I've got these, they were cut, I believe, from the creative pad, and I'm going to place one here in this upper corner and one here in this lower corner. And then I've cut this from the 12 by 12 paper, and I'm going to be placing it here, but I need to make sure that the top part doesn't hang off. That way, if you do open this before you pull it out, it doesn't crush that. It will hang down over the edge of this front flap, but I want to make sure that the top of it stays on the flap. Now I'm going to make sure that this part of the mushroom, the base of it is straight up and down, and that will make the image look correct. So I going to bring it over just a little bit off centered like this. And I'm going to adhere this top portion down, and I'm going to adhere this down and the bottom part, but I'm going to leave this open so again I can tuck something in here, a small tag like we did on the very first one. I decided that I didn't like the look of having tags underneath of here, so I just went ahead and added some adhesive around here where I could to get this to lay flat, so the whole thing is now adhered down. I'm going to remove both of these from my page, and I have this one that I'm going to place on the center here. This was from one of the A4 pages as well, and I'm just going to place this here in the center of this card. I'm going to set these aside for now, and I'm going to come in here and work on this. From this 12 by 12 paper, I only had a small piece left. I cut this to 6 3/4 by 4 1/2. And I'm going to be adhering this down here to the center of the belly band. From my leftover piece of this paper, this was from the 12 by 12 that we had used previously, I cut a piece to 6 3/4 by 2 inches, and then I cut 2 pieces, so they're 1 inch by 6 3/4. And I'm going to place one here tucking slightly into that belly band at the top, and one here tucking into the belly band at the bottom, and this one will cover the end of my ribbon. Next, I'm going to open up and we're going to place a magnet here for the flap. So I'm just going to peel off the backing and place it here. And it is about 3/4 of an inch from the center to the edge, 3/4 of an inch, and roughly centered, but obviously you can see I did not measure. For the sides, I'm taking this piece. It was the piece that I had left over from the 12 by 12 paper, and I've cut this to, it's 8 inches long, and the piece that I had left was 5 1/4 inches. So these pieces, I just cut it straight down the middle. They are 2 5/8 of an inch by 8 inches. I'm going to adhere one to each side of the page, and then I'm going to place my belly band here in the center. And then from this was from the A4 paper, I've cut a piece to 1 3/4 by 8 inches, and I'm going to place it here to cover my belly band. So I have my belly band on my page now, and I realized that I didn't record this, and if you're new to making mini albums, it would probably have been helpful to see. So I just took my belly band and put a strip of adhesive on the top and the bottom section only, just about 1/4 of an inch, and then I adhered it to my page and smoothed it down so that it's nice and flat. Then I put my decorative paper on. Next, I'm going to take my coordinating magnet, place it on top of that one, and close this flap to place my magnet in the correct location on this flap. From this 12 by 12 sheet, I cut the bottom off first. It had a bunch of letter tiles. Then I cut this piece to 6 3/4 by 6 inches, and I'm going to place this here to cover my magnet. From the A4 sheets, I've cut the tag first, and then I've cut this little card. I'm going to make the card a tuck spot for the tag to tuck up underneath. And I want it to be a relatively tight tuck spot so that it doesn't fall out. So I'm going to add just a very thin line of adhesive on the sides and the top. You don't want the adhesive on the sides to be too much, because then it won't allow your card to slide up underneath of it. And I'm going to keep it pretty close to this right edge, that way the tag doesn't cover up the image on the paper behind it. Then from the A4 pages, I've cut this piece, and I'm going to adhere it here to the center of my belly band. Now I did leave a small white border, but I think I'm going to add a piece of white cardstock behind it to strengthen it, but also to give it a little bit of a bolder look so that it stands out more like this. From my white cardstock, I cut a 2 3/4 inch square and just placed my card in the center. Then I've used my centering ruler here just to mark where the center is on my band on both sides, so I can place my card in the center. Once I have those marks, I know where I need to put my glue. So I have very tiny marks here, and I'm just going to place my adhesive on my page in this rectangular area. And then I will place my card right down in that section. For under the belly band, I've cut this from the 12 by 12 paper, so I just cut it here first. Then I trimmed it to 5 3/4 of an inch this way. Then I scored it and then I trimmed the edges here. And I'm going to use mine as a booklet. You could also cut these apart and put 2 of them in there, but I'm going to leave mine attached and place it right here under my belly band like that. Then from my A4 page, I've cut this card, and I'm going to place this card here underneath my belly band as well. I'm going to slightly offset these cards because my magnet is here, and if they are in my magnet, it will not catch. So I need to make sure that the magnet is clear. Next, we're going to move on to the inside of these 2. So I'm going to make sure that I have this in the correct orientation because it's going to feel upside down. So I'm going to put these like this. Then from this A4 sheet, it looks like this. I've cut a piece from the top and a piece from the bottom because I liked the little ladybug here and the butterfly here. So I have my pieces cut to 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. And when this one flips up, you're going to see this one. This one's going to be buried underneath the actual sleeve. So I'm going to put this one up here at the top, and then this one down here at the bottom, because when this one flips down, you'll see this one. Then previously we cut these smaller white pieces. They are 5 3/4 by 4 1/4. So I'm going to place them here and here. And then I've taken just some little leftover pieces that I had, and I cut these down to 1 inch by 4 1/4. And I'm going to place one here and one here. Then from my 8 by 8 papers, I've cut these 2 little butterflies, and I'm just going to place these for some decoration. Now you can place it completely on your paper, or you can place it slightly off and leave that open so the photo can tuck under. You can also only adhere down this bottom side so your photo will tuck underneath here if you want. Then I'm going to place my purple butterfly up here on this portion. I'm not going to be covering the back panel of these because they're not going to be used unless you would put a photo on it, which you would just cover the whole entire thing anyway. If you want to put some paper on it, you can, but I'm just going to put these on, and then we'll be finishing up with this page. Once I have my booklets done, I'm going to bring the base of my page back in. I will add the bottom one first, and then put the top one down in, lining them up. And then tie this closed. Once this side's finished, we can go ahead and flip over and begin on the back side. From this leftover piece of the 12 by 12 paper, I cut from the top first 6 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I'm going to use this side. Then from down here, I cut a piece to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and I'm going to use the back side. So this I'm going to place here on the top flap. I'm going to leave this one off for a minute. We're going to need to put a swing tab on that before we adhere it down. Then from my A4 paper, I cut this card, and it's not an even cut. If you want it to be square, you can cut it square, but I just fussy cut around it, leaving a very small white border. And I'm going to adhere this here to the center of that paper. Then we'll come back and put this one on with our swing tab. Once this is on, I'm going to put my other piece down here, making sure that it is in the right spot first. Then I'm going to hold this in place and put my butterfly piece down where I want it to go. So I've already pierced my holes, but basically what I did was I set this piece down to where mostly this wing and just the tip of this wing are going to catch this. Now you can have it so the whole thing is caught, but I like it to be kind of sideways. Once I had it where I liked it, I pierced down through the chipboard and then down into my paper. So there's a little bit of a pierce mark, and then I'm just going to pierce my hole. Then I'm going to take my brad, place it through my chipboard butterfly, then down through my paper, and then open the prongs to secure this on the back side. And then I'm going to adhere this down to the front of my paper. I also cut one piece of this purple paper. This is something we used a long time ago at the very beginning. This was from the cover. I just had a little piece left over, so I've cut this to 6 3/4 by 1 inch, and I'm going to adhere this here to the top of this portion, and then I'll come back and add some adhesive to make that a pocket. I'm going to flip this down and add my adhesive here, but first I need to mark this in the center so I have an idea about where to apply my adhesive, because I'm going to make this a double pocket. So I'm going to place a thin line of adhesive up the middle and then a thin line on each side. Now, if you just want this to be one large pocket, you don't have to add that one in the center. And once I have that, I'll go ahead and close this up and then burnish this on those 3 places so that it would adhere closed. Then from my A4 papers, I've selected these 2 pieces. I'm going to use the tag one to actually cut the corners on the straight one so that they both have that tag shape. So then I have this, and I'm going to place 1 tag in each of my pockets. Now I may come back later and add some ribbon to those. I haven't decided yet. Then going up here first, I'm taking this piece here. This is from the 8x8 paper, and I've cut this to 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, and I'm going to adhere this piece to this top flap. Then for the center, I have my 8x8 paper. I've just trimmed this to 6 3/4, and I'm going to place this here on the base of my page. And down here, I have, can't remember where it came from, so it came from here. Oh, it came from here. It's this paper. It was from the A4 paper, I believe. And it looks like this. So I've cut one piece to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and I'm going to adhere this one down here. I'm going to add just a little bit of decoration for down here. So I have cut these from the A4 papers. This one I know was here, and I just fussy cut this out. I'm going to adhere this one almost completely down, so maybe half of it. And I'm going to place it down here first. Then I'm going to take this little one that's almost like a label and apply about 2/3 of that to the tag. And then the butterfly, Going to apply, looks like about half here. And again, you can do this however you like, whatever look you want. You don't have to do this the same way I did. You can put the butterfly over here. You don't have to put any of these if you don't want to. But then a photo can still slip underneath of here. And I'm going to leave this one completely open just because it's so pretty. And then this one as well. So I'm going to flip this up and this up, and then go ahead and fold my swing tab over and close my page. So now we have both sides finished. I'm going to add some pearls to complete the page. For the front side, I'm going to first add 2 of my darker colored flowers to these little corners. And then throughout the flowers on the mushroom piece, I'm going to add some pearls as well as on the butterfly here. And then I've got 2 white ones that I put on the ends of the antenna on the snail. So I'm going to use my 1 chipboard butterfly piece. And since the previous page on the opposite side is over here, I'm going to, well, on the page it's here, but it's going to be around this side. I'm going to put this one here, just over top like it's on top of the flower. And then I'm going to add my little pearls here first. I decided to use the white ones just so that they're a little different. I've been using these gold ones for the flowers and the butterflies, so I just wanted it to stand out a little bit differently. I'm going to add 3 down the center of my butterfly. And then I have some just spaced throughout this in the centers of the flowers. I'm going to go ahead and let all of this dry, and then I'll come back and add some to the back side of the page. For the back side, I'm going to start with these 3 flowers here. So I've got one of the lighter flowers. This is the medium size. Now this is the large size from that assortment from 49 in Market. And then these are the tiny little ones, the smallest ones that came in that pack. So I'm just going to tuck these ones under. And then I've got lots of different pearls here, so I've put them on the centers of the butterflies, the center of the chipboard butterfly, and then I just have 3 here just to give it a little bit of contrast. So I'm going to add these ones first. Just evenly spacing them apart. And then I'll go through and add all of the ones to the centers of the butterflies to finish up this page. So now that I have my flowers and my pearls on the page, we are finished with page 3. That's it for this tutorial. So if you are just joining, you can click on the links in the description box below where you can check out all the products that are available on the Scrap and Create website, like the paper and the flowers and the ribbon, and then the chipboard pieces and the cover are available, and the pearls are available on my Etsy shop. So everything is linked in the description box below. So click on those links, purchase your products, and follow along. I'll see you in the next tutorial.